I've actually been spending this morning actually thinking about this idea of value that I think I started speaking about it yesterday and stuff. And so generally what I do with my ideas is that I'll think about an idea. There's actually a project we're working on this a few days ago, and I said, I said to one of my colleagues, okay, I have a hypothesis of what's actually going wrong. And as we were testing out the hypothesis, like we're basically like after I explained it and I said, okay, now let's test it. It would have taken a few minutes to test it. And as we were testing it, I actually said, okay, now let's assume I'm wrong. What else could it be? you know and so that's generally how I go about my ideas. Like I'll play out the idea, I'll play out the thought experiment, and then I'll say, okay, but now let's assume I'm wrong. What else could it be? And then I start playing around with the opposite, while I start playing around with the alternatives of what else it could possibly be. And I've been thinking about a similar idea with this idea of money, and using that as a means of measurement and whatever else. And this morning I was thinking that, well, you don't necessarily have to measure value by the amount of money that you're being paid and whatever else. You can actually measure it by other things. But I came back and I said, and as I was thinking about this, I actually said to myself, but why not measure it in money? Like, why do you have to think about other means of measurement? Why do you have to measure it by other forms? I mean, a company can look at a good year and say, this year's been a good year. Our revenues are up 40% or 50% or 60%. And to them, that is a good year. So to me, I think personally, it's very easy because when you actually measure it by what the market is willing to pay you, it's simple to know your value because it has nothing to you. It has nothing to do with you personally. A while back, like a few years ago, years and years ago, I used to do a whole lot of digital marketing consulting and whatever else. And I had a specific price initially, and it was almost easy for me to get people to be willing to actually pay me that amount. And then after getting that, I said, okay, now let me double it, and no one was willing to pay for it. And so it was easy for me to then know that, okay, clearly whatever it is that I'm offering it, the way that I'm packaging it and whatever else, in the eyes of the people I'm trying to reach, it's not worth that, but they are willing to pay this. So I need to find another number, either go back to that initial number or whatever else. And I personally think that is really one of the easiest methods. Yes, there may be other methods of measurement, but it's one of the easiest measures. That is, there someone out there that can actually properly quantify what it is that you are doing and its true value. I saw a post or a quote of who's this Reid Hoffman. He's the founder of LinkedIn, and he was talking about how sometimes you actually don't have to increase your skill set. Like there are people who would actually value the skill set you have or the knowledge you have right now and whatever else. And I was thinking about that. That perhaps sometimes it's not that there isn't someone who doesn't value what you are doing at a higher level or at a higher financial level. It's just that you're in the wrong environment. And if you're in an environment where it's difficult to quantify, it's difficult for that environment to quantify the value of what you are doing, then generally it will be underpriced. It will generally be underpriced. But if you get into an environment where now there's a bit of better context and in terms of the difficulty of what you do, it becomes easier to quantify its value. It becomes easier to say, actually, this is what this specific kind of skill set, this knowledge base and whatever else, this is what it's worth, and this is what we are willing to give you. So sometimes that's really it. The fact that perhaps you're in the wrong environment and it's difficult for that environment to properly quantify the value that you are bringing. And so, but if you were to take that similar skill set elsewhere, if you were to take it into a different environment, a different industry, perhaps then that would disproportionately increase. Like I consistently talk about disproportional increase, disproportional value, because that is really what you want to do. You don't want to necessarily gradually grow. You want those exponential steps, and it is possible. And that's really one of the things that I've been thinking about this morning, the fact that why not use what the market is willing to pay you as a measurement of value? Why not use that? Why not look at, okay, this is what companies are actually willing to pay me right now. What would happen if perhaps I registered for another course? What would happen if perhaps I got my honors degree? What would happen if perhaps I got my master's degree? What would happen if perhaps I got a different certification, I wrote this board exam or whatever else, And once you actually start measuring it like that, you are actually talking about how much value you are being, because now you actually have to get the necessary knowledge, the necessary skill, so you actually are becoming more valuable. So to me, it really is. It's a meaningful measure. The fact that, okay, this is the level of value I'm bringing out there, and this is the level at which it's actually being valued. Now, how do I increase that value? How do I actually grow in that value? And I've been thinking a lot about that this morning. The fact that, and I think it's Gary Vee who says this: the market is right. You're not worth what you think you are worth. You are worth what someone else is actually willing to pay for it. So you may value it because of some sentimental attachment and how long it's actually taken you to get that knowledge base and whatever, it's no problem. But ultimately, the thing is, you're not selling it to yourself. You're not selling your skills to yourself. You're not selling your skill set or your knowledge to yourself. It's someone else. And if the market cannot interpret that value at the price that you have set it at, then perhaps it's not worth that. Or perhaps you've packaged it properly and it's difficult to see that inherent value of that. And perhaps then you need to rethink how you go about the value proposition of your knowledge, or your skill set and whatever. But I do think the pricing of the market of your specific skill set, of your specific job title and whatever else, it might not tell you the whole story, but I think it tells you enough for you to get started, and it tells you enough for you to actually know what you would have to do in order to move up to the next level.